Gdynia is a city in northern Poland and a seaport on the Baltic Sea coast. A few kilometers from the city stands a building which has a dark and mysterious past. The facility consists essentially a U-shaped four-story building with a reinforced concrete framework standing in the bay and surmounted by an observation and command tower in the middle. The side wings are separated from the main body by two channels about 6 meters wide and 7 meters deep. During the war, the building had two torpedo launch shafts 1.5 meters wide and 4 meters deep. After completion of the facility, the Torpedo Research Center of the German Air Force moved here. When the war began, the Luftwaffe, so the German Air Force, did not have its own aerial torpedoes. Initially, they purchased large batches of Italian ones. At the same time, intensive construction works and tests of German air torpedoes started. In 1941, it was decided to move the Torpedo Research Center to places beyond the reach of British bomber aircraft. The Bay of Gdansk region has become a perfect place for the construction of all types of experimental plants. There were favorable conditions for conducting experiments on new types of torpedoes. The calm waters of the Gulf and the inability to conduct a raid by the Allies meant that the area was selected for the construction of a new experimental base. In early 1942, the construction of a research base and a torpedo training ground was started here, consisting of a torpedo assembly plant, workshops, power plants, social buildings, and barracks for the development team. The torpedo firing facilities were built about half a kilometer from the mainland and connected with the harbors with wooden piers. These facilities were connected by a narrow-gauge railway with the mainland. Altogether, approximately 2,000 workers were employed in the workshops, assembly plants, and on the training grounds. In total, every day, more than 200 torpedoes were fired from the torpedo depot and dropped from planes taking off from a nearby airport. Probably the most interesting development of this center was the gliding torpedo, the Blom und Voss L10 Friedensengel or Angel of Peace. The aim was to increase the launch distance of an existing German aerial torpedo. The L10 was carried as an external load of a torpedo bomber and dropped from a height of 2,500 meters. A range of 8,500 meters should be achieved with this device. This allowed the carrier aircraft to operate outside the enemy firing range. The L10 was not controllable. It means that the pilot had to determine the flight direction of the torpedo before dropping it like a normal aerial torpedo. When the L10 touched the water surface, the carrier part was blown off and the torpedo ran towards the target on an underwater path. During the test launches at the Torpedo Test Center, 54 examples were used from April of 1942, after which a further 330 units were ordered, but probably only 270 were actually built. According to some reports, the Kampfgeschwader, so Bomber Wing 26, received 34 of these for operational testing. A large number of different types of aircraft, such as the Heinkel 111 and the Junkers 88, came as Harrier aircraft to use. But the L-10 was never used operationally.